Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Creating Conscious Relationships, where we're going to be talking about supporting each other through the evolution to the self. So, thank you for joining us here tonight. I'm Catherine. This is John.
John.
And we're happy to share our experiences about supporting each other's journey as well as finding our ways back to ourselves. So
Yes.
that's what we're here to chat about tonight. Um, did you want to start? Because I think the things that you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, okay. In what regards?
Well,
I
we
mean, we talked a lot about supporting people in their evolution, and well, I mean, the big thing that I was talking about was having patience for people, because we all evolve at different rates, and we're all at different conscious levels, and we all have different dreams and aspirations, and a lot of people don't have a lot of patience. And I think that's especially when you're trying to support somebody, it's important that you have patience for yourself, but also have patience for that person and what they're going through and what their experience is.
yeah. And I thought that was a great part for us to actually start with because a lot of times when we step into relationship with people, whether it's a spouse, whether it's, with your parents, with the children, anything like that, a lot of times we come in with kind of these expectations of who we think this person is. And really, we just meet the parts of the person that they're willing to show us right at the beginning. And then throughout time, it starts to evolve and they start to show us different parts of themselves. And some of them are great reflections of who they are, and some of them maybe not such great reflections. We don't usually show up on a first date and kind of go, this is all of my baggage, and this is what you'll be dealing with if you're in relationship with me. And so part of that evolutionary process is having the patience for each version of a person that is going to be showing up, because there's going to be days where someone is showing up as angry. There's going to be days where someone's showing up as lazy or frustrated or impatient or with a desire for something more. Maybe they're having a really depressed day, or like there's so many different expressions of the self. And for us to be able to meet them with patience in that state, and understanding that even this version of them is not the fullest truth of who they are. Because I think sometimes, and I know we've had this happen in our relationship, where we get kind of an idea of who someone is. And then we might kind of throw it back in their face, like, you used to be this, and now you're not this anymore. But that's part of that evolution, right? It's part of that growth, it's part of that change. And sometimes we haven't actually discovered a part of ourselves yet that's needing to be expressed. And so to have that same patience when someone comes to that kind of realization of, oh, there's this part of me that's needing to be expressed now, having that patience for them to be able to express that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, communication, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
it's half the time people don't know what evolution looks like for it's all always different. It's different for everybody. And just having that, hey, I having that conversation
Yeah.
and say, I don't know what's going on, but I'm changing, or I feel differently than I did yesterday. So we all are every day, it's a new day. So um yeah, it's really just talking about it.
Yeah.
What you may have liked chocolate cake yesterday and you might not like it today. It's just kind of how it goes. So I'm not anybody doesn't like chocolate cake, but
Yes. Yes. And in that, I mean, to me, it's kind of a beautiful unfolding of the person that you're in relationship with, is to witness who they're becoming, both in the good and the bad, or the perceived idea of good and bad. Because as they evolve, as they start to express more of themselves or feel safe enough to express these different parts of themselves with you, then you also get to start evolving as well. And I mean, what does it mean to evolve? Would be to not be the same person we were yesterday, to not be the same person we were last year, or to be the same person we were 10 years ago. And in that, a key piece for me, and it was just something that I started unlearning last year, was that for me to allow the evolution of him to show up perfectly would be to meet him every single day as a brand new person. So anything that I had an issue with, say, a year ago, that I can't keep putting that as an umbrella on him, as this is who he is now. It's an invitation really to meet who is it that I'm in relationship with today. And not that your personalities have changed extremely over the years or anything like that, but if you're someone who, say, is in relationship with someone who's always angry or who's always been shut down or they're unable to express, even if they start to shift a little bit and you're not open to this kind of evolutionary change where they're speaking up or where maybe they're not getting so quick to anger or whatever it might be, that you have to kind of open your heart to that and not remind them of this is who you used to be, but to really be like, welcome, this is who you are now. Because I know for a long time and it was actually when we went to the Buddhist talk last March, and the Buddhists have been talking about having nonviolent communication and nonviolent relationships with yourself and with others. And as he was talking, I'd realized that while I'm not a violent person outwards out here, I could be very violent on the inside, having negative self-talk, putting my body down, that sort of thing. And we were talking about it after we had left the monk, and John had said to me that he didn't think he was a very violent person. And then I went through my head of these times that he'd lost his temper, or we had someone break into our man cave, and the anger that you had presented that night. And I was like, oh, I think you're pretty violent. And I was really holding on to an idea of who he was in the past instead of in that moment. And then that night, and it didn't occur to me then that I was doing that. But that night, our son came downstairs and told us that someone had broken the front window. And we ran upstairs, and sure enough, the front window had been broken. We looked at our security cameras. There was someone who had banged on the front window that was like not someone that we knew. And essentially, they broke the window, they took off. So we called the cops. And after the cops left, John went to work putting this window back together. And I was expecting a violent, kind of aggressive outburst from him, but he actually just stayed calm, and he was completely like non-reactive to the whole thing and non-violent to the whole thing. And it was in that moment that I realized I was actually holding a past version of him in my mind, expecting that to show up and not even realizing how much he had shifted in, I guess that would have been 2 years from the time the person broke into the man cave. This event happened. So in a 2-year process, he had changed so much and had become more of a protector than a kind of aggressively, and I think even in your aggression in the past, it was a protection.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't feel like protection. Where the way that you had showed up this time, it felt more like protection. It felt more safety. It felt more the divine masculine than the toxic masculine, if I'm being honest. And so I share that with you guys so that it's a constant state. Shoot, I am recording. Okay, it doesn't say that. Sorry. But because it's a constant state of meeting a new person. And just because they've been angry or violent or sad or whatever in the past, that there's always an opportunity to meet a new person. And the more open you can be to allowing this new person to show up in your life, the more they can actually break free of whatever that umbrella has been on them. Because I know, like, for yourself, a lot of times, like in your past, in childhood and teenage years and all that, it was that you were an aggressive person.
Yes.
You guys were known for fighting and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so you never really had the opportunity to be the peace.
Yeah.
And now you do. So it allows for that kind of a fuller expression of the self, and to also be okay with the fact that a person can be both sides of these things. I'm the most positive person, and full of life and everything else. But when I have dark days, I have dark days.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
Yeah.
the darkest of dark. So I think it's,
But it's important to have that support, right?
yes, yes.
I mean, on your darkest days, that's when your support person has to be there. Like, if you want to support somebody's evolution, it's not just through the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's through the absolute horrifying bad stuff. It is, yeah, I will be the rock when you want to be the whatever,
Mud puddle.
the puddle, yes, sure. Um, but yeah, and you have to take responsibility on both, like whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And the support piece that you bring up has been the most healing for me, is to be able to have the support to discover who I am, to share the things that I love, to step into the things that I love. Because there had been many relationships I'd been in prior to this relationship that when I wanted to sing, they didn't want me to sing. When I wanted to play guitar, they didn't want me to play guitar. When I wanted to do my spiritual stuff, they started calling my family and saying they're going crazy and whatnot. And so to have someone that goes, oh, you want to sing? Here's a microphone. Oh, you want to play guitar? Here's a guitar. Oh, you're going to do this spiritual stuff? Have at it. That kind of level of support of me just being able to follow whatever dreams or whimsical ideas I have at any point in time has been so healing, because it's like, it doesn't matter if I shave my head, he's going to love me. He's going to support me and just be there. I know that. Um,
But I was going to say, if you don't understand, get curious and ask
hmm,
and talk. Why do you want to do this?
yeah,
What is your goal here? You want to support that person the best you can. You need to know where they're coming from and
yeah,
what direction they want to go in. I mean, the direction may start this way and that way, but at least you have an idea. I mean, there's so many people that don't communicate their dreams, aspirations, or hey, I want to try or whatever, and why they want to try it. They just, oh, I'll go and do this, and then sometimes fights or whatever happen because people haven't communicated those things. And I think that's a big part, is just having those clear intentions of, hey, I want to try this because I think this will help with this, and that will clear up. Then you can build the support on that side too.
yeah, absolutely. I like what you wrote in here, Jewel. She's saying, I learned today that in a relationship of two people, there is actually four people. One, you, who you think you are. Two, them, who they think they are. Three, who you think they are. And four, who they think you are. So, yeah. And do those all match each other? And I assume that there's going to be days in a relationship where absolutely they all line up and they all, you know, work in alignment with each other. And then there's going to be other days where it doesn't line up so well, you know? Like, how many times have couples had a fight where they're like, you're a jerk, you're doing this jerkish thing and I don't like it, and la da 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 da. And the other person's going, I'm innocent. All I did was XYZ, you know? But again, that comes back to that communication
Yeah.
and really having those honest conversations first with yourself,
Yeah.
but then also with your partner. And partner could be your parent, your child, your friend, your sibling, your lover, whatever it might be for you. But to have those conversations, to have the willingness to be vulnerable with yourself if you're not happy in the relationship, to share that you're not happy in that relationship. If there's something more that you need in a relationship, to share that there's something more that you need in a relationship. Like, it's the conversations need to be had. And sometimes when it comes to the lack of satisfaction in a relationship, it's really lack of satisfaction within the self, right? And we can look at the relationship as a reflection of the self. And sometimes it really is about us getting our voices heard or expressing ourselves in a new way or a different way or whatever. You're quiet tonight.
I am. There was a point that I was going to make, but now I've lost it. So, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Um, no, just kind of going back to we were talking about the good and the bad and um, supporting each other. Um, be okay to challenge the person on that as well. And I mean, in a good way and bad way. Like, hear me out. Like, not in a bad way where you're, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Or whatever. But um, maybe it's not bad, but more like a critical way.
Mm.
Make them question and it goes back to that get curious because like we can support each other, but challenge that and challenge each other on building that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, motivate each other to want to be better. Motivate each other with these conversations of challenging that. What is it you want to do and why do you want to do it? And then build the support from there. Again, it goes back to communication. But
Yeah, he's like, no, we could talk for a year on
oh yeah,
communication because everything does come back to communication and having that honest communication again with yourself and with each other.
yeah.
And then another point that we had been talking about earlier was in like the healing journey and supporting the evolution of each other within the healing journey and what that looks like. And I know for a lot of people, the idea of, okay, I'm now started healing myself. So now you need to heal yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Because there becomes a very noticeable kind of vibrational difference that happens between someone who's healing and someone who's still stuck in the muck of what their life has been. And it's not a race by any
No
means, but a lot of people start to see it as a race, like I'm here and you're back
competition.
here,
Yeah.
and you need to get up here and be with me here and understand this and understand that. And I know for myself, I've been on a healing journey for quite some time, and you've stepped into the healing journey and
Dip in.
stepped out,
Dip
and
in.
yeah, jumps in and out and whatever. But when he jumps in, he makes these big evolutionary kind of leaps where I do little kind of pieces every single day, and not a right way or a wrong way of
No.
doing it. It's just our different ways of doing it. But one of the main things, as I've been healing, I can't finger point at him and go, "You're not healing. You're not doing this. You're not doing that," etc. Or to have that kind of air of superiority of, "Look at me, I'm doing all of the healing work." Because essentially, our healing work is for us. And yes, you gain benefit. If I heal, he's
Yeah,
benefiting.
absolutely.
If I
Well,
heal, everybody that's on this call is benefiting. If I heal, everyone in my family is benefiting. So, I mean, there's already a ricochet effect that's happening, but it doesn't mean that he now absolutely needs to heal. And I might be able to see his childhood stuff or young adult stuff or even now stuff, and I'm like, that could be healed. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he has to jump on the wagon, because when he's ready, he's going to be ready. Like it's, giving that patience and that space for them to be able to find their own way into healing. And how do you do that? With support, with
yeah,
patience, with, I know you're going to get there when you get there.
yeah.
It's kind of like potty training a toddler. You can show them the bathroom so many times. You can reward them as much as you want to. You can punish or have consequences for them if you want to. They're going to get it when they get it, and not a second sooner, right? And it's the same with anybody with their healing. You can tell them this is all you need to do, but until they're ready to fully receive it, when they're ready to fully allow it, because it's scary, right? I think we all have to honor that part, is to heal ourselves, to jump into our own inner muck. It's scary. There's a lot of shit in there that we've been avoiding. So to have someone tell us you need to heal, we're not necessarily going to jump headfirst into that muck. That word's coming up a lot tonight, the muck.
And especially men, where you tell me, oh, you need to do this, you need to work. Yeah, you're gonna. You,
Well, and I think
not to
maybe
say
that's
that's
a
all
great
the time,
question,
but it's like,
because I know there's a lot of women who they like openly step into their healing path. And I feel what I understand about the difference between men and women is women, oh, that's your phone. Okay. My apologies, folks. For women, a lot of times
Sorry.
No, that's okay. For women, a lot of times we feel things a lot faster than what men feel. And for women, we tend to go into the healing world. When you look at any class that I teach, if you look at any like spiritual retreats or anything like that, the capacity of men towards women is usually like 1% men, 99% women, or 3% men and 97% women. And so, as women who are in relationship with men who are wanting men to heal, because I think we all agree that men need to start healing. So, how would you, as a man, advise women to, I guess, I don't know if it's create a space where he wants to heal or help kind of wiggle in because I understand men don't want to be
Don't
nagged at
don't
about
push it. Yeah, that's have the conversation. Do your journey. We'll by osmosis, we'll take that on as well. We will start to see and we'll see what you're seeing. We won't tell you. We're not going to come and say, "Oh, I see you're doing all this healing work and you're so much," but we will start going, "Oh, maybe I should do that." And yeah, I would say we're not vocal about it, but we do continue to push to be better. And that's, and again, that goes back to communication. Communicate what you're doing, communicating where you are. And yeah, and men don't typically want, I don't know, I can't even say that because it's a little bit different. To in the past, men haven't wanted to work on themselves and this and that. But I think more and more now that men need to, and they see that they need to. And it's just breaking down the barriers of the old ways of, oh, you're a man, you got to blah, 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 blah. That is important and being supported in that, not, oh, come on, let's go, don't show me this insecure, sensitive person
Mm,
because that's was never ideal for.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, and just on even that conversation, one of the times that you did kind of jump into healing and kind of processing things out loud, um, I know there was times where you brought things to the table that made me react, right?
yeah,
And I think sometimes my reactions, especially when it was angry or whatever, would then essentially make you shut down all over again.
yeah.
And not that that was my intention, but it was almost like it was so scary for me to see like vulnerability coming from you
Mhm.
and then feeling I don't, sometimes I understand why I got angry. Other times I'm like, I don't even understand why I had that response. Or to go, well, I've been feeling that way too, and it almost takes that kind of, it's not the ownership of it, but it's you're sharing your experience. And I really wasn't holding space for what you were sharing in your experience.
But okay, so that's still part of the communication piece. You're not always going to get it right away, right? You're not
Yeah.
always going to get, there's going to be times where it's, okay, I'm going to share this with you. And you're going to get the response of, well, I'm going to shut down because now what I'm getting back is not what I expected.
Yeah.
But the next time, it'll be a little different. The next time, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. If you just stop and was like, and we're like, okay, I shared this and I want to evolve in X, Y, and Z, and nothing came, like it doesn't get you very far.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it comes back again to
Yeah.
communicating and sharing with each other, sharing with yourself, and also being willing to admit when you're wrong, to admit when the support that you've been trying to give isn't necessarily the support that the person has been receiving or the way they've been seeing it. Right. And I just use that as my example for the times that you have opened up
Mhm.
and I've shut it down or have reacted poorly to it, that for me to come back and go, wow, the way I did that was wrong. The way I responded to you was wrong. And my apologies on that. And let's try this again. Um, because if it's shut down and then there's no kind of retracing
Yeah,
back to it,
that's kind of what I'm
then
saying.
it makes it that much more difficult to start up those
Yeah.
conversations. Um, And again, yeah, it comes back to the communication. It comes back to sharing with each other and ultimately sharing what is kind of that end goal. Like, so for me to step into the healing, what is the end goal for me to heal this? You know, what is the pain that I'm trying to relieve myself of? Because he's going to know. And especially when I started in the compassion key journey, I would say to you, I'm having a compassion key session on this today. This is a really big one, so I might be vulnerable by the end of the day. And it
Put on your
was,
seatbelt.
yeah, put on the seatbelt. And he knew in those moments or on those days that he was most likely going to be dealing with a version of me that was a lot more vulnerable and a lot more sensitive. And then there was other days where we kind of thought that's what it was going to be like. And I was just like, okay, I feel great. So yeah. And really, it is such a gift when you allow the people around you to evolve and you're supporting that kind of evolution of each other. It is such a gift
Mhm.
to be able to witness what they become.
Oh, what they can do. Absolutely. And that's one thing that I don't know, uh, I guess I cherish about our relationship is we always motivate each other to go one up. So
Y-
you'll do a little bit, then I do a little bit, and then we just keep. It's like, no, now it's your turn, and you give a little push, and you have that discussion of, okay, no, I want, yeah, keep going, and yeah, it's very important. But that comes with communication. That comes with the understanding. Comes with the understanding that what this person is working on is for everyone's greatest good,
mm,
right? Like it's not just, oh, they're going to do this because they want to do it for themselves. No, they want to do it because they're evolving and they're getting better, and that will transcend to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I come back to that level of support. When you've got someone who's totally in your corner, it's like being a rose bush and having someone tend to you so perfectly that they're giving you fertilizer when you need it, they're watering you when you need it, they're giving you sunshine when you need it, and you become the most beautiful rose bush. You know, it's and to be able to be a part of that as the gardener for your rose bush, and to be able to know my love is doing this for him, that he gets to be this greater version of himself because of my love. Not that I'm doing it to just so I can be like, oh, my love did this, but it's really cool to know that your love can actually help shift somebody.
Yeah.
You're very quiet
I'm
tonight.
sorry.
No,
I've
that's
got
okay.
lots going on in my head that I can't come out of my mouth. No, I'm just thinking of all the different ways and different avenues of that we've supported each other and the trials and tribulations that we've gone through because you don't always get it right, like
Yeah,
right off the hop. And but again, back to communication, that does help.
yeah.
Um,
And I think that's the evolution of a relationship too, is that you're not always going to get it right. And even in those times of not getting it right, to be grateful for those
it's a
because
learning process.
it's always it helps. Like when a person, like when you first start into relationship, you don't really know what are the things that work for this person and what are the things that don't work for this person. What is it that this person needs the most? Because again, we show up in a relationship with the best version of ourselves on our face and we go, this is who I am. And we're essentially selling ourselves to each other to go, this is who I am as a human. Do you love me? Um, and then when you're in relationship, then you start to show these kind of other sides of you, the part that, keeps your dirty underwear on the floor, leaves empty Coke cans around the house or whatever it might be. And in that, you're not going to get it right. It's the wounded parts. I know we were talking about this last time that we were on, but those wounded parts start to show up.
Mhm.
And when those wounded parts are showing up, you have no chance in hell in getting it right. You've got an inner wounded child coming out
Yeah.
of you. I've got an inner wounded child coming out of me. And then we go back and forth and we try and handle it in whatever way we can. But if it's an inner 7-year-old for me and an inner 5-year-old for me, and they're just battling it out, it's going to be messy. Feelings are going to be hurt.
Yeah.
We're going to say things we regret.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to that patience piece, right? Is regardless of where people are and where they are in their healing or evolution or whatnot, is just having the patience, even when you're not wanting to have the patience, when it's like, no, I'm okay, enough is enough or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, trust in that in your partner and that and have that patience. Give
Yeah.
them the space that they need to become what you want them to be.
Yeah. And if you have the understanding that it's the wounded parts that are keeping you in a fight relationship, or it's the wounded parts that are always in that kind of misunderstanding or that power struggle that's happening, to me, it kind of opens that invitational curiosity where we can start to look at, so what wounded parts keep showing up here? You know, what are these responses that keep showing up? And you can learn to navigate through those confrontations or conflicts to understand what the wounded parts are. And again, you can be the only person in that conversation that understands that there's wounded parts that are showing up, right? Because sometimes I think when we're, in the heat of a moment, we don't necessarily know this is a wounded part. It feels like the truth, right? And the ego, the wounded part, will always disguise itself as being the truth.
Yeah.
And so if you're not having kind of a bigger awareness or that deeper curiosity to go, why am I reacting this way? Or why am I showing up this way? Or why can't I support this version of this person? I think it allows for a greater expansion to start to happen.
And that it's good because that expression comes out differently between men and women as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Well,
share more.
so like I'm going back to saying about men being guarded and have their wall up. Yeah, when we feel under attack, we get defensive and we get into this mode of whatever, shut down, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And women don't. They go into their emotions.
Yes, we express them
Yeah.
wildly out here.
And we're like, okay, man. So
Yeah. And actually you can even see that kind of, so if I'm going, whoa, and I'm expressing, but he's wounded and he's got this defense on, just as he did there, where he kind of started to pull back. You can see that happen in a lot of relationships between men and women. And was it last week? I think we were watching a video, and the video said that the wounded masculine, or the deepest wound that the masculine holds, is that he is not enough. And the deepest wound that a woman holds, or the feminine holds, is that she's too much. And so, and always wanting more. And so she starts to dim her light as she stops asking for more. She settles for less because she thinks she's too much. And he's constantly trying to prove himself, but never feeling like it's good enough. And if the man can understand that the woman's always going to want more, it doesn't mean he's not doing enough, but she's always going to want more. And the woman can understand that he's got this wound in him that's telling him he's never enough. If we can support him and go, yeah, you're enough, but now I want to experience shaving my head. You're enough, but I just want to experience this, right? And then so it's not that the desire for the woman is too much, and it's not saying to the man, this is not enough. It's just these are some of our kind of inherent roles that we have as men and women. And the one thing that I really liked in that video was he was saying that for women, because we have the womb inside of us, that we have this access to this infinite void, right? The womb is what carries new life. It brings new life into this world. And so when we go into that womb space and we tap into that infinite void and that infinite potential of what could possibly be, it means that we see life as limitless. And so I could be totally satisfied in our life together and tap into that and then go, okay, we need to experience this next. We've got to go do this crazy wild thing, or we've got to expand in our communication, or we need to have more intimate moments, or whatever it might be. And it's because I can tap in and go, oh, there's more available. Because the truth is, we're limitless, right? And when we're in that evolution of each other to understand that we're limitless, and do men then feel limited? I never really questioned that.
Do men feel limited by?
Well, so if you can't access this kind of limitless void that a woman can because of her being able to.
With the right support, you feel limitless. But what we're just saying is, if you're not, if there's the wrong support is there, or not maybe fully supported, you're always going to feel like you're never enough. With the right support and proper communication and whatnot, you both should feel limitless.
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's supporting both evolution, right? But I think going back to your point, that video that we watched was just that knowing those two things and how you can communicate that between each other allows for bigger things to transpire at that point. Because no, I know this, right? I know that okay, uh, no matter what, you can be happy and still want more,
It's true.
right?
Yeah, it's so true.
But how many people have that conversation?
Yeah, yeah,
It just comes off as no, you just want more, you just want more, you just want more. No,
yeah.
this is not,
It,
it's not really the case.
it's an inherent birthright, I guess, that we have, but and it is something that I actually judged about myself because it was like, so I've got this thing, I've received this thing that I said this was the thing that I wanted, and now I have it and it's great, and now I want more. And now I want more. And it just never, well, sometimes it's like this really kind of big thing in the world, but sometimes it's just, we're not talking enough.
Yeah.
We're not having enough date nights, or there's not enough romance or whatever. And it's constantly tapping into this kind of moreness. And yeah, watching that video for myself, it really actually gave me permission to just tap into this desire for moreness and
Mhm.
that it's not a bad thing. And it's also not a reflection of you or a
And
relationship.
how could I not support you on that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in this, knowing that you are limitless, I should try to dampen your light or bring you down. No, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
that's
when you put it that way, it sounds
no,
ridiculous, but
absolutely it does.
I think
Because
there's
we
a,
should all be trying to build each other up. And if you feel limitless, I should be pushing behind you, going, you are limitless, keep going.
yeah, yeah.
Not, no, you're not limitless. Sit down and just be quiet.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. And so Julie, I don't know the name of the video, but the artist, the creator of the video is Adam Roa, Roa is his last name. He is on Instagram. Um, and just coming back to what you were saying there about, seeing that kind of limitlessness and going, okay, I'm going to push you forward. It's so interesting to me because there's been so many times in my life, not in relation with you, but with other people, when I said to them, I want to go back to school. And they felt so threatened by the fact that I wanted to go back to school. And I hear of this a lot of times in relationships where, and I hate to say it, but it's a lot of times it's men in relationship that
What's
are
that
not
insecurity,
wanting.
right? It's that wounded masculine.
Yeah, no, I'm aware,
I know.
but it's just so surprising to me that there's so much insecurity that for a woman to go back to school, for a woman to want to better herself, to educate herself, to do something more than being just a mom or being a housewife, that it can bring up so many
Mm.
insecurities. Um, and I'll say that vice versa, because maybe it
Well,
is women not supporting men in
I,
their
I I
educational.
think it can go both ways.
Yeah,
I don't think I think you're kind of right that that's been somewhat the norm, but it can definitely go both ways. That it doesn't matter if it's male or female. Um, yeah.
yeah. And yeah, it's to me, it's so important that when a person is coming to say, this is what I need next, or this is how I want to express myself next, or this is where I'm at today, that we're willing to have those conversations, that we're willing to
Mm,
listen to what they have to say without kind of kiboshing it or running them into the ground because this is how they're wanting to be.
yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for us at this point in time or anything they would like us to chat about in regards to this conversation?
Yeah, I still think the most important thing, just while we're waiting, is that you be the biggest cheerleader for your partner or for whatever you want to support. It doesn't have to be your partner. I mean, if you're supporting somebody and you want to support their spiritual journey or their evolution, is you really need to get behind them and you really need to support them unwaveringly. Hey, you may not like it, you may not understand, you may not know it, the communication may not be there, but you have to trust in that, they're doing this for the right reasons.
Yes, Julia, his name is Adam Roa. Yeah. Yeah, and I like that you say whoever it is that you get behind them with that unwavering support. Um, because there's a lot of people that I think their number one wound is not feeling supported, not feeling understood, not feeling celebrated for being who they are. You know, a lot of us have had to dampen down who we are. We've had to dampen down our emotions. We've had to dampen down how we've experienced life. And if we don't have someone in our corner going, I want to know you, I want to see the best expression of you, I want to see you.
Challenge. I want you to be better.
Yeah,
Today is great, but tomorrow you better come
better.
evolve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Because
it's
it's just,
pushing.
yeah, it's such a beautiful act of love, right? And to,
Well, what's the other side of that? To not
yeah,
to keep each other low.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, where you get one shot at this, and why not try to be supernovas together versus a piece of coal on the ground that's just sitting there sinking,
yeah,
you know? Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's important that, and without that support, the coal's going to stay there, the
Supernova's gonna,
supernova's going to take off, and that happens. But I mean, if you have the opportunity to support that person and take, and both be, then why not?
yeah, yeah. And you can see that like throughout award ceremonies throughout history, when those people get up there and they win the awards, it's always thank you to these people who believed in me. Thank you to these people who took a chance on me. Thank you to these people that supported my vision, supported my dreams before I even had a chance to truly believe in them myself. And if you can be that kind of person for your spouse, if you can be that kind of person for your children, for your parents, for anybody, really, your friends, your siblings, whatever, yeah, why not?
I mean, if you can be that for your spouse or your siblings or your children, you can be that for everybody.
Yeah,
You can be the cheerleader for everybody,
yeah,
but it's got to start somewhere, right? And I mean, ideally,
within your closest
yeah,
relationships. Yeah,
but the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more you want to see people do better. And then it gets to the point where I want to see all of Kitchener be better than what it is.
yeah.
And then it's all of Ontario or whatever. But I really do think that we need to do better at motivating and cheering on each other.
Yeah.
Just
And
to,
even if you think it's a small thing, even if you've got part of that judgment that's coming in to go, oh, it's not that big of a deal. They remembered to take the garbage out today, but they put the notification on their phone. So is it really remembering? You know?
baby steps.
Exactly.
Baby
It's
steps.
noticing all of the little shifts that they're making because no one can build Rome in a day. It's all these baby steps that eventually get to the kind of bigger evolutionary things, but celebrating that for them, celebrating that with them that, hey, I notice you. I notice you changing. You
Yeah.
reacted differently this time than what you've ever reacted before. That was awesome. I was really proud of you for
Yeah.
this small shift that you've made because in that it builds their confidence, right? Because a lot of times, again, when it comes to people healing and changing, the lack of confidence within themselves.
Well, after you've changed, yeah, you feel vulnerable, right? Like after you've had a very spiritual, uplifting event, you are extremely vulnerable. You don't have your all whereas about where you are or what you're feeling. So you need that support, or that support is very important.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see you need it, but I mean, it's better to have it than not.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, if you can be that for someone, and then on the other side of that, if you're someone who's needing that support, to be willing to have that conversation with your spouse, with your whoever, um, to talk about what that support should look like for you.
Mhm.
And to also be okay if they can't get it right away. That's part of that evolutionary process as well. If you say to them, I need you to say, listen without interrupting me. Okay. And then they interrupt you. To not shut down completely and go, see, you never change and turn off the entire conversation. It's about going, okay, So see there, when you interrupted me, that makes me feel like I'm not being heard right now. And so you can continue on with that conversation, making them aware of, oh, when I interrupt her, it upsets her, or whatever it might be. And then again, allowing for that room for growth for it to happen, and sometimes you're going to make a lot of progress. You might have a step back, and that's also okay, right? It's all part of that evolutionary process.
Yes, especially with men. Get me wrong, but like we want to fix it. We want to be the knight in shining armor. We don't want to be sitting listening. Our instant reaction is going to be, I want to protect you, or I want to fix this problem. Not I want to listen to how what you want to do to fix yourself. How can I fix yourself? And
Yeah,
I can't fix yourself. I can fix you. You need to do it.
yeah,
But that's going to be my reaction is how, okay, what can I do to
yeah,
make this? And then we'll rack our brains thinking of all the things that we can do. We can't. And all we need to do is sit and listen.
yeah. Well,
But
and
women
it's
need to have that patience to know that, okay, yes, he's going to try and fix all of this. He's going to run around like crazy doing all these things, and all he needs to do is listen.
Yeah. Well, and it was so funny at the beginning of our relationship. That was exactly the kind of process we'd go into is I'd share, this is what's bothering me, whatever. And he'd go into thinking in mind, how do I fix this? I need to find a way to fix this. And it started to become like, I don't need you to fix this problem. I just need you to listen to me. Because a lot of times I can access my own solution within my own mind, within my own heart, and figure out the way to go as long as I've got a listening board, someone who's
Yeah.
just hearing me say things and sometimes repeating things back to me or asking me questions about what I'm sharing to make me or help me to understand myself better, and to find that solution within myself. And there's been so many times, bless your soul, that he's made suggestions to me of things that I could do. And I've been like, no, it's not that. It's not that. And then it's 3 or 4 days later, or sometimes a couple of weeks later, that I come back and I'm like, yeah, this is my idea. And it's always, this is my idea. Meanwhile, he's the one who's actually kind of planted the idea. And then I had to sit with it a little bit longer. But I think vice versa as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a give and take when it comes to that
Yeah.
is, and sometimes we're ready to receive it and take action on it right away. And sometimes we have to receive it and let it percolate for a while before we're ready to actually explore whatever that might be. So,
And I guess like a number of times I've mentioned not bad things about men, but this is my perspective. I can't say all men and I should really clear that up, but I know what I went through and how I approach things.
yeah.
And that's just where I'm coming from. Not that everybody's the same, because we're all much different. But
I think we're all different, but we all kind of process things in a lot of
yeah,
similar ways to each other. So yeah, we can't say all men or all women, but we can say, for myself anyways, I know a lot of women who have gone through these
yeah,
experiences, or how us women will receive a reaction from a man, or the
yeah.
defensiveness of a man, or the shutdown of a man, and what we make that mean about us
Yes.
and the
Okay.
relationship
Yeah, yeah.
versus how men receive it. Because I've listened to you and your friends, and I've listened to the boys that we have
Hmm.
also talk about how they receive in relationships and how they give in relationships and the conversations around it. Is I can see general themes
Yeah,
that happen with men and general themes that happen with women, and to understand that yes, there are differences. How we process information
yeah.
is different. So for a lot of women, what I understand is we can feel all of the feelings all at once and still multitask and do all of these things. We can have 100 tabs open in our mind happening all at the same time. Where men, a lot of their information, it's like you guys are on the logic side. And so if he's in a logical side and I bring up an emotional thing for him without any forewarning or anything like that, his entire brain has to rearrange itself to get back over to the emotional side. So it might take his brain 5 minutes to actually get over to the emotional side to be able to start processing emotionally. And when I heard that, I was like, that is brand new information. Because to me, I can jump into my emotions and jump right back out. Like,
But it goes the same. You can't jump into your logic when you're in your emotion, right?
yeah,
It is that difference between and men and women and whatnot.
yeah,
And but knowing even that much as well helps with those discussions. It helps with
yeah.
supporting and whatnot. it helps
Yeah.
with that evolution.
Well, and there's been times where I've had to say, or I don't have to say, but I have said, like, I can't even think logically right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is just everything that's happening in my mind right now. And I'm not thinking logically. I'm not, there's no truth of this. There's no proof of this. There's no nothing. But these are all of the thoughts, the fears, the worries, et cetera, that are coming up for me. And again, to be able to put that language on it when we're having these big conversations with people, if we can understand how brains work, the difference between men and women, when we can understand the different ways that we receive it, the different ways that we try and express it.
Yeah.
All of that,
Yeah.
it can help bring that relationship so much closer in just having an understanding that this is different, and some people might go, well, I don't want them to have an excuse. So it takes men 5 minutes to get over to their emotional side. I don't have 5 minutes. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Like literally his brain is just wired differently than a woman's brain. And to make space for that, to go, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. It's going to be a difficult conversation. That in itself could be like, okay, let's go have an ice cream and you kind of get into this idea of we're going to have an emotional conversation.
And that
Right.
practice is going to be doing that, like having that practice, having those conversations, that switch speeds up.
Yeah.
Right. The more you do it, it's like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it, the faster reaction happens.
Yeah.
But if you don't ever, you're still stuck. And if you have it once every 10 years or whatever, you don't go very far.
Yeah.
The reaction time stays the same or goes backwards, and you don't want to have anything to do with that. You don't want to have that discussion at all.
Yeah.
Because you have that now.
Yeah. So practice it. Practice having the conversations, practice having communication with each other, practice supporting each other.
Be each other's biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And not, again, I it's about couples, but everybody, if you support everybody.
Yeah. And just one last thing I'm going to throw in here, is to do it without looking for that, the reward system. Yes. Yes.
The cookie or the
I've
gold
done
star.
for you, so now you have to do for me, or I did A, B, C, D, E for you, so now you have to do F, G, H, I, J, K for me. That it's not somehow in the universe, it always balances out. And if you're giving from a place of expectation of I need to receive back, it's not truly giving. You're looking for that payment, you're looking for that thing. And I think a person can automatically feel that if you're going, I'll do this for you, but you have to do this for me. We feel that.
Yeah.
Right. Where if you're just going, I want to do this for you because I want to do this for you. Making each other's coffee. So I try to remember to set up his coffee maker for him at night.
Yeah.
So that way he doesn't have to program it because he's up a lot earlier than I am. And so the coffee maker, I try and do that while I'm making supper. And then every morning when I wake up, there's a fresh pot of coffee that he's put on for me. And so it's this give and take of just making coffee for each other. And is it that big of a deal? No. Is it nice? Absolutely. Do you know what I mean?
It's clear the path, right? Like these little tasks of making coffee. So you don't have to make coffee, you can move on to better things. And you can use that. That's just a small example, but it's these little things we go, well, I don't want to do that because that's your responsibility, or a blue or pink job. Have you ever heard of that? It's like, no, just do what needs to be done because it will clear the path for somebody else to do something maybe more significant.
Yeah.
If we can just help each other along clearing these little medial tasks out of the way, well, we've got so much more time to do things that are more impactful.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to recognize each other's efforts as well.
Yeah.
That sometimes maybe making coffee is the only thing the person can do that day. Maybe that's all they've got left in them, and to see that as being a big act of love, that they're trying.
Yeah.
And there's going to be other days where they've got so much to give, and to not settle on that and go, this must be the required expectation at all times, right? To allow for that ebb and flow of life, of energy, of
Mhm.
emotions to state, the mental state, et cetera, to all exist. Um, and to always find, I think, that gratitude for each other and sincere gratitude, not, well, thanks or anything like that, but that sincere gratitude that you being in my life absolutely accentuates it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be able to share that kind of love and gratitude for someone, especially as they're evolving, as they're going through a healing journey, as they're like learning to undo different parts of themselves and working hard at bettering themselves, I think to just give them that full gratitude is so important.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, yes.
yeah,
The support is it's 100% needs to be unwavering. I mean, well, it doesn't need to be, but should be,
yeah,
and you will feel it.
yeah, absolutely. All righty, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We look forward to connecting with you guys again next Sunday. Not sure what the topic is. We were actually saying this week that we might start doing it as no topic and just hop on and see what we talk about.
I might talk more next week.
Maybe we'll talk about talking. But yeah, essentially it's like, well, let's just maybe see what we're inspired to share, because that might have more of an impact on us at the end of the day. Who knows? So thank you all for joining us again,
Thanks, guys.
and we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great night, guys.